I've got another introductory song, but I don't have to do it right away. But I could do it right now. Okay, all right. Very good. Thank you for your being decisive. Okay, this one, oh yeah. This song comes from a rough time. When I got a job. A full-time job. I'd had jobs that, that were kind of 40 hours a week or whatever, but they always had an end, there was always an end in sight, and there was always a light at the end of the tunnel. But this is a full-time job with no light, all tunnel. I knew fairly early on that I had enough work experience early on to know I wanted to support myself, I wanted to be independent, but I wanted to do that without having a job. And I did not know anyone who did that. So I went to college. I was the first and only person in my family to go to college, and I was glad about that. And the very first night of the very first day of college, I had a freshman orientation coffee house. And all the performers were from the incoming freshman class, and I signed up to play. And I had not played at a coffee house before. I didn't know exactly what one was. I played at the church folk group, and I played a couple shows in high school, but that's it. So I practiced some songs, but when that first night of the first day of college came along, my throat had closed off, and I realized I'd be unable to sing any of the songs I had practiced because they were kind of demanding and had big notes at the end. So I don't really know what I did. I believe I played the banjo, I played guitar, and I sang. A little while later there was a guy who played mandolin and guitar and sang. I found out he was also from New Jersey. This is in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, at Moravian College. And in the audience was a guitar player who saw the makings of a bluegrass band. So that was the beginning of the Razzie Dazzie Spasm Band. Sorry to be such a name dropper right off the bat here. What can I say? Life isn't fair. Sometimes people get the big breaks early. So I played that first night. I played at all the coffee houses they would let me. There was one they didn't let me. And then I eventually ran the coffee house program there at school. But a few months after that first night, the guitar player in the audience, Doug Anderson, took me to the professional coffee house on the south side of Bethlehem, a place called Godfrey Daniels Coffee House, which is still there. Yeah. I just played there in January. And they didn't have a show that night. He was trying to get a booking for a friend of his who was a blues guitarist and songwriter. His name is George Gritzbach. And he was trying to get a booking for him at Godfrey Daniels from Dave Fry, who ran the place. And so he was bringing his first record album to Dave. They didn't have a show that night, but there was a kind of an informal jam session going on in the front room, and there was guitars and fiddles and mandolins. And at one point they passed me the guitar and I sang a song, and they were very nice about it. And I remember looking up at the wall at the pictures of the people who were going to be playing there, and I thought, wow, this is what Greenwich Village must have been like in the 60s, because I'd read about that. And a few years later, when I found out what Greenwich Village had become, I wished it was more like Godfrey's. Anyway, I started going to the open mics on Sunday nights and to the shows. After the first set, they would drop the price in half, so I was able to experiment on people whose descriptions looked interesting on the counter, but whose music I did not know. And there was no internet then, there was no YouTube. So it was just going based on the descriptions, but I felt like I discovered a whole world of music I didn't know existed, and it was better than what I'd seen on TV or heard on the radio, a lot of it. And so some of my favorite people I got to see there were Claudia Schmidt and Rosalie Sorrells and Utah Phillips and Stan Rogers and Nancy Griffith and Jack Hardy, great people. And I thought, boy, if I could be like one of the people who plays at a place like this, that would be the best thing. So I started heading in that direction and away from everything else, and I didn't know how that would work out with my schoolwork and my scholarly stuff. So to have a more secure future, I became a philosophy major. So I didn't know how the music thing would work out financially. So I had a plan. It worked out great. Upon graduation, I got a job delivering flowers. Because I was qualified with my degree. I did that for 3.5 years. Not to brag. And then I was offered this full-time job that plunged me into a deep pit of melancholy, despair, and woe, because I didn't know if I was trading my dream of playing music, like one of the Godfrey's people. I was trading it in for a steady paycheck. So I wrote this song in that deep pit. It became the title song of my second record, which had no happy songs in it whatsoever. That's some people's favorite. I'm not knocking it. There'll be less talk as we go along here, so that's something to look forward to. Okay, this is called Land of the Bottom Line. I couldn't bribe a wino on what I used to make. My fortune was as sure as the wind, but I was free to wander, and time was on my hands. It was mine to burn and to bend. Freedom for freedom, call that an even scheme. Give me time to wonder and to dream. I need the money, they'll take the time. Down to the land of the bottom line. To the bottom line. Then there came a chance to make some steady dough, bouncing up my alley to the door. You fill your clothes with keys and damned responsibilities, trading the maybe for the sure. Freedom for freedom, come an even scheme. Give me time to wonder and to dream. I need the money, they'll take the time. Down to the land of the bottom line. To the bottom line. Hey, hey. All I ever wanted was to be a kid and play, fighting every change along the way. I don't like work, but I don't like waste, and I don't like waiting for a taste. Freedom for freedom, call that an even scheme. Give me time to wonder and to dream. I need the money, they'll take the time. Down to the land of the bottom line. To the bottom line. Hey, 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 hey. Thanks very much. Thanks for clapping for that one, because it brings up terrible memories for me. I'm glad somebody liked it. All right. There's a line in that last verse, I don't like work, I don't like waste, I don't like waiting for a taste. My wife said, you shouldn't sing that, you don't mind work. And it reminded me of something that Utah Phillips said. He said there's a difference between work and toil. Work is what you do for yourself, and toil is what you do for others. So I really should be singing, I don't like toil. But that's a whole nother syllable. I said that in Texas a few months ago, and they said, not in Texas, it's not.